this is always fun. I'm joined by Lee Grant, who's one of my favorite people in this business. It's so nice to see you again.
It's just so great to see you.
Lee is here to discuss another film on the list from the New Republic of the 100 most significant political films of all time. This is film number 12 on the list, Harlan County, USA, from 1976. Won the Academy Award for Best Documentary for producer and director Barbara Koppel. It's about a strike in Harlan County, Kentucky, at the Brookside mine that happened in 1973. Duke Power was the parent company. The workers wanted to unionize. They wanted to deal with the United Mine Workers of America, and Duke Power didn't want to accept it. It set off a 13-month strike, and Barbara Koppel's film details those 13 months. So this is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. I don't like to be hyperbolic, but that's just how it is.
Well, that's the way I feel. And this documentary actually changed my life.
How so?
Well, I saw it when there was a showing of prize-winning films. And my film, The Stronger, played it. Was a Strindberg 40-minute piece about two women, one who speaks, the other who doesn't. And after The Stronger, this nice girl behind me stretched her hand forward and said, "That was very good." I said, thank you. And then Harlan County, USA came on. And I had never, ever seen anything like that. The depth of it and the rawness of it and the allowing the people themselves to be who they were and what they were, and the strength that came through that film. That was the little girl behind me who patted me on the shoulder and said, "Very good." That was Barbara Koppel, with her husband, Hart Perry, shooting it. This couple went into this foreign land of coal and miners. You entered into a world that I had no idea existed. I mean, the whole world that Barbara Koppel captured in this one film is a voyage to a different reality.
I am struck by how long she held scenes. And in lesser hands, that might have dragged. It always goes a little bit longer, and it reveals something else.
She stays with it. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And the fight of the women joining the men in
the
this.
wives who joined in.
This step that they take into power themselves is a story in itself.
The real heroes here are the women who stood up for their husbands, and then, of course, the miners themselves. So how did that encounter, how did seeing the movie, how did it change you? In what way?
Oh, it changed my life,
How so?
Actually. I was doing shampoo with Warren Beatty, and he said to me, "Lee, you're 49. And I was really 50.
No, you look about 35
But
in
next
shampoo.
day,
Yeah.
I got a call from AFI, and they said, "We're starting our first women's directing workshop. Are you interested?" And I thought, 49, 50, I do not have a future as an actor in Hollywood anymore. Yes. And so it was that move to AFI that made The Stronger, which won a prize, which was on with Barbara Koppel's Harlan County, USA.
Right.
From that day on, I made documentaries. She changed my life with Harlan County.
I can see how this movie would do that. Let's take a look at Harlan County, USA, and then we'll come back. We'll talk more afterwards. Here it is from 1976, directed by Barbara Koppel, the Oscar winner that year for Best Documentary, Harlan County, USA. Back, yeah.
Bravo.
Bravo.
Bravo, yeah. Barbara.
Back here with Academy Award winner Lee Grant, actress, documentarian.
By the way,
yeah.
One of my documentaries, Down and Out in America,
yeah.
was also awarded an Oscar. I am very proud of the work that Barbara Koppel started for me and that I eventually got to.
So you think, really, if not for seeing Harlan County, USA at the time you did, you wouldn't have made documentaries. You wouldn't have found your way there.
I have no relation to... documentaries to me were what you saw between films when you went to the movie house. Oh, look at the Chrysler Building. It is 20,000 miles long. I had never connected with something which was taking a camera into the truth of lives. And it was such a doorway opened for me. You know, I'd been so frustrated and so unable to speak because I couldn't work in film or television, and
Because you were blacklisted.
I was blacklisted.
You didn't have a future in movies, and you didn't have a history in movies because that history was taken away from you. You had some history, of course, but much of it was lost to the blacklist. What happened to you? You shrug your shoulders. I'm not going to shrug my shoulders. What happened to you?
What happened was I was 22, and I married a writer, Arnold Manoff, who was blacklisted, and because he was a communist, and all of the smartest writers of the day were communists. And I was asked to name him in front of the Un-American Activities Committee, and I said, fuck you. You know, and they kept asking me to do it over the next 12 years. So that 22 went to 32 and 34. And so I was 34 before I got off the blacklist. But the reason why I'm a good documentary maker is because that 12 years between 22 and 34 was my Yorva Haskell Rosenthal Lee Grant's education. As far as the world was concerned, I learned to fight. And it's the reason why when I saw Barbara Koppel's movie, I saw for the first time a way to show my vision of the world in the same way that she did.
You called her last night, the night before we were shooting this, right? To tell her
Yes, I called her last night. I saw Harlan County again. I played it, you know, in my bedroom, and I called her, and I said, again, you know, how remarkable her work is, you know. Oh, it's a very interesting thing. When Women Kill, which was the first documentary I made for HBO, Barbara called, and Art Perry was the cinematographer who I asked to work on that documentary. And she called and she says, I want to do sound.
Barbara did.
Barbara Koppel called me and said, I want to do sound. And I said, no. Please, you know, you're my idol. You're the only reason I'm making documentaries now. And she said, Lee, I need the money. I have to work. She came, she did sound. She brought her son in a basket. The baby was not even a year old. So Art Perry did the camera, Barbara did the sound, and the kid was quiet in a cell.
Only Barbara Koppel could keep a one-year-old.
But I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know, what a filmmaker.
Yeah, right.
What a woman.
It sounds like she was a little impressed by you also. Lee, thank you for coming in and talking about this great film.
Sure.
Lee is done for the night, but the movies, of course, continue on TCM uncut and commercial-free.